Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight, and please, if you haven't had a seat yet, would you please take one, and we'll get this program going. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and braving the rain tonight and just coming out. We have a great program for you. We're really glad to see you here. Before I start, I really wanted to just start and say thank you to a few folks. You know, tonight wouldn't have happened without Dwayne and Nancy McNett, and I'm not going to embarrass them, but they really have worked really hard on this. And so would you really help me now? Dwayne is walking up, and Nancy's in the lobby out there. Would you thank them for me? With me? Thank them with me. We'd also like to thank the partner churches that helped us, Garden Fellowship and their pastor, Jason Duff, Cornerstone Covenant Church, and their pastor, Chris Hussaw. And, of course, the folks at the Church at the Red Door. We really thank you so much for helping us tonight, too. And how about our AV team from CRD, huh? They got this place looking really well tonight. And there's many, many other volunteers. You saw them coming in. It really takes a team to put this together. We're really thankful for that. So thank you, all you volunteers. And I think most of you know that the entire cost of tonight was underwritten by three very generous folks. And we thank them so much for that, so that every one of your dollars, every one of your ticket dollars could go to a very worthy cause here in the desert that most of you probably know. It's the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. And Scott Wolf, their development director, is here. And so we thank you, Scott. And you know, the links, the K in links stands for Kindle Compassion for the Poor and Needy. And tonight, because of your generous donations for tickets, we'll be able to write a check to the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission for over $12,000. I'm often asked what Links is or what Links Players is, and really what we are is we're a ministry that connects people in and around the game of golf. And it's really just pretty much that simple. We have about 20 local fellowships here in the desert, and some of the fellowship leaders are here, and that's how some of you got involved. But if you're not in a Links Fellowship and you want to know more about it, there's a card on your chair, and you can just fill that out and drop it in the fishbowl as you leave. It's a little white card. It says thank you on it. If there's not one on your chair, there's one in and around your chair. We'll have some more in the back. Just take a minute and fill that out, and we'll tell you more about that. We have a daily devotional that we would send out to folks, and I promise you we will not sell your information to anybody. Links won't. Tales from the Tour will not. And this event tonight, we are partnering with Tales from the Tour. Tales from the Tour is located in Phoenix, Arizona, and the person who's been chairing that for Tales from the Tour for the last 6 or 7 years is here tonight, Lewis Greer. And Lewis has helped us a bunch with this. We'll be doing this in 2 weeks over there, kind of the same sort of thing. So if you want to know more about Tales from the Tour, Links, you want to connect with a local church, fill that out, and we'll get back in touch with you pretty quick at the close of tonight. So are you ready to have some fun? Are you really ready to have some fun? You sure? Well, we want you to have a good time tonight, and I think you're going to learn a little bit about golf. I think you're going to learn about the people who are coming up on stage. You'll learn a little bit about the players and the other folks that we have up here. We have a great lineup of pros for you, and I think we're about ready to get going. You ready to get going? All right, so I want to introduce your host for tonight. Many people in the room already know him. I think you know him anyway. Jeffrey Cranford. Jeffrey Cranford is a PGA professional. Jeffrey's been a PGA professional for over 30 years. He's been here in the desert teaching golf and also teaching the Bible for over 25 of those years. And he's going to be our host tonight. And He's also the president of Links Players International. It's the organization that I work with. And also, he's the senior pastor at Church of the Red Door. Would you help me welcome Jeffrey up on the stage?
Hey, welcome. We are thrilled that you're here, and I'm telling you, we're gonna have a great night. And by the way, this is just like Marty Jacobus, never to say who he is. That's Marty Jacobus. Marty, thank you. Yeah, between the McNetts and Marty and all the volunteers, it's really, this got pulled together in about 3 weeks. So unbelievable. Well, I'm gonna have one of my dear friends coming up and just kind of open us in prayer. Now, you got to realize, getting two pastors in the same room on the same thing, that's right there, that should prove that there's a God somewhere, that you got pastors working on the same gig, and we may have some other pastors too, but I'm going to have Jason Duff, who's a senior pastor over at Garden, come up. Would you just open us, buddy? This is a good man. And let me tell you something. And here's what you don't know. Here's what you don't know. This guy was the second-ranked junior in California next to one other guy that you may have heard of, Tiger Woods, back in the day. Now listen to this. And then he signed a scholarship offer at UCLA, played 1 year, and felt like God was speaking to him, and he went a whole different direction. So this guy can play. So if he's asking you for shots, do not give him any shots. Brother, man, I'm glad you're here, buddy.
The true story is Tiger Woods and I played golf against each other from the time I was 7 and he was 9 until he went to college and I did. So of that entire 10 years, I was ranked behind him, number 2, for 8 whole weeks. So it sounds a lot better when Jeff says it than the truth is. I was number 2 for 2 whole months. So pastor, it was probably a better idea. But let's go ahead and let's pray together tonight, friends. Lord, we just want to invite you into the center of all of this. And God, we want to pray that you would be glorified tonight, that you would point our eyes towards you, that we would learn a lot about the men and women that will be up on this stage and what it's like to have life on the PGA Tour. But I also pray, Lord, that we would learn about you tonight. And so we just dedicate this time to you, and we pray that you would be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. So, hey, before we get started, I'm going to start introducing these guys and gals. So we have got a gal with us tonight, and I think that may be the high point of our whole night is one of the gals who's going to be up on stage. But I think we have, is Wyndham Clark here? Is he here? Is Wyndham here? Oh, he didn't make it? Okay, he's trying to get here. Well, he may get here. How about Shirley Spork? Is she here? Did she get here? Yeah, have her stand up. Shirley Spork. Is that correct? 93 years old. Let me tell you, Shirley was one of the first 10 founding members of the LPGA. And is that right? 93? Did I get that right? So we're thrilled to have you here too, Shirley. So we've got a lot of folks among us. And for those of you who know anything about any great music, then you're going to know Jeremy Camp, right? Well, Jeremy Camp's here. Jeremy, stand up. Where'd you go, buddy? I don't know where he's got to go to the airport, but he came with, there you go. Great to have you here, man. So anyway, I just a couple of those. Well, are you ready? We're going to get into this tonight, and I'm excited about it. I'm going to try to kind of give you a different vibe on generations on the PGA Tour. We've got someone who was making leading money winner kind of deal in the 60s, and then we've got a guy that just came off 2-time All-American. Alabama won 2 national championships in 2013 and 2014. And he was part of that other crew. You may have heard Justin Thomas is part of that crew, and they won. And he was 2-time All-American. This guy can play. He had 3 top 10s last year. You're going to be hearing about him over the coming years, and he's with us tonight. Trey Mullinax. Trey, would you come on up here, buddy? Hey, good, man. Glad you're here, buddy. Glad you're here. Yeah, just sit right there. So Trey's here. Now, second, we've got a former champion of this very event. I don't care what you want to call it. If you've got sponsors here, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but it's always will be affectionately the Bob Hope for me. I know. It just feels like the Bob Hope still. It's been the Humana and Career Builders and everything else, and this year I think it's being affectionately called the Classic but former champion of the Classic and 5-time PGA Tour winner, Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson. You are a good man. You are a good man. Glad you're here, bud. Here you go. There you go. Now, we don't often get to see this. You see these guys, but we're going to get to dig in a little bit. What happens at home? What happens behind the scenes? Well, she's not only behind the scenes, she was at one point president of the PGA Tour Wives Association. We're going to get to hear a little bit about that tonight. And she is Mark's better half. I'm sorry, brother, but she's taken, we were here on this platform, and when Amy consented, we went way up here, way up here. So Amy Wilson, Mark's wife. Amy, I'm so glad you're here. I am so glad you're here. We love you. We love you. Now, this next character, some of you probably, I was thinking about as we were talking about this, the fact of the matter is here in the desert, we're probably not going to get a lot of 15 and 20-year-olds, but we're going to get some people that know who Frank Beard is. Frank Beard, let me tell you something. Frank I've known for years. In fact, I had the privilege of actually doing the ceremony for his son, who's now the head coach at Pepperdine, and had a profound impact on Frank and his life. Frank was 11-time PGA Tour winner, was the leading money winner in 1969, started playing the tour in 62, had about a 10-year great run, and as some of you may have even played golf with him here in the desert. He resides here in the desert, and I said, Frank, come on, we want you part of this, so would you welcome, please, Frank Beard. Frank Beard. I did think you'd make it. Yes, I did. I knew you were going to make it. Good to see you, my friend. There you go. There you go. All right. Yeah, that's Amy. That's Amy. That's Amy. All right. Well, here's how we're going to start this. I'm going to start from the youngest. And Trey, come on, man. I have never had the privilege to meet you till just back in the green room a minute ago. But when I think about you and the things I've heard about you and your passion, first of all, you hit it a mile. He's 6'4". And I'm just thinking, who is this guy? And we came in, and immediately you just have that sense that there's something about this guy. Trey, tell us a little bit about growing up. Tell us a little bit about golf. You grew up where? You grew up in Alabama?
So I grew up in Gardendale, Alabama. So it's just about 20 minutes north of Birmingham.
And were you always thinking, I'm going to play one day for University of Alabama? Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, that's right. We got our butts whooped, so that was nice. I say we. I try not to put too much emphasis on that because I was trying to do better this year of not letting 19 and 20-year-olds dictate my attitude, but it didn't quite work. But I started playing golf actually pretty late, 13, 14 years old. I played all the other sports growing up and through high school, baseball, basketball, football, and I actually broke my leg playing football. And when I was in a cast, my dad grew up playing the game, loved the game, and he was like, hey, why don't you just come out to the course with me? We were like on a weekend, and I've played a little bit before with him.
Sure.
And so I went out and I would chip and putt with him. I had a cast on, so I couldn't do much. And, we did that for months while I was kind of getting healed up. And I fell in love with the game. It was kind of that me and my dad bonding kind of made me fall in love with the game because that was a special time that we got to have with one another. Every day he'd come home and we'd go to the course and have fun with one another and play. And I loved being around my dad. And so when I got out of the cast, I was like, hey, why don't we try out this golf thing for a little bit? And so I kept playing baseball, and so I had to kind of pick between the two because my dad was like, if we're going to do something, let's just do it and stick to it and give it 100%.
Sure,
and
sure.
So I chose golf, and it led to some good things. And just that bonding time with my dad kind of made me fall in love with the game.
Yeah, yeah. So you played, obviously, through high school very successfully. Did you have opportunities to go other places other than Alabama?
So I actually walked on at Alabama.
Oh, you walked on at Alabama? I had no idea.
So I got offered a scholarship to UAB, which was really the only scholarship I got offered. Out of high school, I was always able to hit the ball pretty well, but I didn't really know how to play golf.
Right, right.
And so when I got Coach Sewell, I went to Alabama golf camp at 17 years old. So it's like I'm like the man child to all these like 10-year-olds right that are there. You know, I didn't really get recruited. So I was like, how am I going to get this guy's attention? So I went to the golf camp, and he saw me hit the ball, and he saw that I could hit it really well. And I was actually on his dad's team. They do like these team things while you're at camp, you know. And so I was on his dad's team, and his dad came up to Coach Sewell, Jay Sewell, and said, "Hey, I think you need to look at this guy." And so his dad actually recruited me. So you ever see Jay Sewell? So you didn't even recruit that guy. And that's how we kind of met. And so he offered me. He said, "Hey, look, you know, we would love for you to come and be on our team." So I took the offer, and in 2 years became an All-American. And he taught me how to play golf. And Coach Sewell is my coach now. So I talked to him probably 3-4 times a week, you know, about courses, and you know, he helps me with my golf swing still, and he was like my dad away from dad, and I mean, he's awesome.
Well, you know, there's something really bad about this conversation because I didn't really play much golf, kind of walked on 2 years, guy kind of helped me out, and then I was an All-American. And so, seriously, I got 2 guys down here that are 12 handicaps, and they're looking at each other, punching their wives. I think I can do it. I think I can do it.
You got it.
You're
I'm
giving
telling
hope,
you
man.
it.
Don't give hope. Do not give hope in this game.
I owe a lot of it to my dad and Coach Sewell. He just kind of taught me how to, you know, it's not all about just hitting it well. You know, you got to chip, you got to putt, you got to do all these things, and he stayed on me hard, and it turned out really good.
Well, tell me a little bit about the national championships. I know, especially back-to-backs, man. That had to be. I mean, not only that, it's given you confidence to start. When did you first start it? First about that, and then tell us, when did you first start thinking, you know, I think I could maybe give it a run out on the tour?
My senior year was kind of my college year was when I kind of was like, you know what, I think I might can do this for a living. You know, never thought that I was, you know, truly good enough, to be honest with you. Playing with the Justin Thomases and all those guys, I mean, you know, you get your butt whooped every week, and you're like, well, heck, I can't beat that guy. I mean, crap. I just shot 20 under in a college event, and I shot 2 and thought I played pretty good, you know. And so we would my senior year, I won a couple of tournaments, and so that kind of started turning things. But we lost to Texas in 2012, and I was not on that team, that 5-man team. I played a few times in the spring, didn't play great, and I actually qualified for one of the events, and Coach didn't take me, Coach Sewell. And I was mad. I was so mad. I was like, are you kidding me? Worked my butt off and did all this. And that was a learning experience for me, what he was doing for me. He wanted to know if I could come back and really try and get better. And so we lost in 2012, and then in 2013, we had an unbelievable team with me, Justin Thomas, Corey Whitsitt, Bobby Wyatt, and Scott Strohmeyer, who have all played in tour events or on tour. And so we had a really good team that year. In 2013, we beat Illinois, and then in 2014, we beat Oklahoma State.
Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable.
We had really good teams.
So your journey to the tour was pretty quick, and I mean, last year already at 26, you had 3 top 10s last year. Tell us just a little bit, and then I want to move to Mark, but just tell us just a little bit about this first few years on tour. What are you learning? I mean, what is the biggest thing that's, you know, going through your brain over these first few years?
Yeah, so coming out of school, I got on the web.com tour, and I had conditional status. So I got in about 10 or 12 events and was able to keep my card, played really well in a few events early, and was able to keep my card. And the next year I won and then got out here on tour. But the biggest thing that I think I've tried to learn is just patience.
Sure.
You know, if someone were to tell you, you know, a good buddy of mine told me this actually a few days ago. He was like, if someone already had a book written about everything that you were going to accomplish, would you ever worry about it right now? And I think that's the biggest thing that I do, and I'm sure Mark, you know, knows a little bit about this too, is worrying about, well, I'm not playing great now. You know, am I going to play good? You know, when am I going to play good? You know, like next week, am I going to play good there? It's just about being patient and knowing that, you know what, I know that I'm working on the right things. I know that I'm doing my job well. It might not just be coming all together right now, but just keep patient and know that it's all going to come together and that you're going to play well. But I think patience is huge out here because it's such a long year. We play a lot of golf.
Yeah.
And I think just having that patience and knowing that, you know, to be honest with you, like, this isn't everything. You know, the man upstairs is everything.
Yeah,
And my walk with him is everything. And, you know, he put me on this earth to do this for a reason. And so I'm going to try to glorify him as much as I can as I'm doing this. And if everything works out, that's great and wonderful.
Trey, I love that, man. I love that.
Being patient is huge.
Yeah, patience.
That's great perspective for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
just
Mark,
trying to, at least.
before we go to Mark, I think we had somebody just show up that might want to come up here with us. Is that Aaron Badley over there? Aaron, come on, man. Come on up here, brother.
Bads.
How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Come on. Now, you sit right over here, because only Bads would text me as I'm pulling into the parking lot and go, you know what? The kids are in bed. I think, can I still come? I'm like, yeah, come on. And we set up a chair. You sit over here for a minute, brother. It's good to see you, buddy.
Is that timeout over there?
It's this timeout. I said put him to my left. Yes. I'm keeping him in timeout.
No, we're happy to have you, Bads. Thanks for making it.
We're always happy to have the Bads. Bads, how many times? You've done the Phoenix a bunch of times. I will tell you, I've done a bunch of events with Bads through the years, and he's always the first guy to say, I want to do it. Please, let me do it. Let me do it. And he does it. He does these things, and, we only pay him $50,000, and, I mean, it's unbelievable. No, seriously, it's unbelievable how.
It's been a good business.
It's been a great business for him, so it pays the week's expenses. So Mark, I got to tell you, I have come to love this family, and Amy's father and Pam and Rick Carlson have been so special part of our journey. And when I look at you, I already see, this is golf. You got a guy at 5'8", and you got a guy at 6'4". This guy's won 5 times on the PGA Tour. You got, everybody's like bomb and gouge, just hit it as far down there as you can. And here's a guy that, he got it out there, trust me, got out there a long way for a guy. But to win 5 times is unbelievable. Mark, what the heck, man?
And it doesn't make sense.
I give
everybody hope. I really do. They come out and find out that I'm a tour player, and they play a practice round with me at the club, and they're like, wow, maybe I should just quit my day job and try this thing out. There's something, I don't know, when I get in the heat of it, I flip a switch and something else happens. And
I got to tell you this quick story. So we were doing this on site at the Phoenix Open. Some of you know that tournament. They get 500,000 plus during the week. It's unbelievable. And I think we had Webb Simpson and Ben Crane, and I think Bads was there that time. And I was talking to Brandel Chambly up near the stage, and I said, watch what happens. I said, those guys are going to walk in, and the crowd, all these kids, everybody's going to run right over there. And I said, this guy's a defending champion. This guy won Sony. This guy's won more than some of these other guys. And I said, watch, he'll walk right in. He'll walk past everybody. Nobody's going to know. And I'm just like, nobody knows Mark Wilson. This guy, if you look at, there's a young guy on tour, Frank, you may have heard of, but he used to wear his hair really long, Ricky Fowler. He's won 4 times on the PGA Tour. Come on, man. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about your journey. Especially coming from the part of the world you came out of, and he lives up in, they live up in Chicago, and I'm just like, how does any of this work? And yet you've had unbelievable success. Help us understand.
Yeah, well, Trey touched on a little bit with his relationship with his dad. My dad's actually here. Dad, where's Les Wilson?
I'm sorry, there's Pops over there.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad had a love for the game, and he just, I saw it in him, and I just kind of kept playing with him and just loved it. Loved that and basketball really were my 2 favorites. But when I asked my dad if we had anyone to be tall in our family, my dad's 5'4", my mom's 5'1". I kind of figured.
Your odds were good.
Yeah, I think my odds were good to go with golf, right? Yeah. So I enjoyed the basketball on the side, but decided to go golf and just loved the journey. And I think you touched on it earlier, too. I felt like I always was trying to prove something. Like I wasn't the kid that people were intimidated by, that's for sure. I was the one when I was 14, hitting driver 3 with the par 4s and then chipping it up to a foot and tapping it for par. And
there's hope. There's hope.
Just annoying the bigger guys that I was playing with. But yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin and wanted to go south anywhere for golf to play in college, and went to the University of North Carolina. I know they're playing right now. Anybody see the score? against Notre Dame. Anyways,
Losing.
they're losing. Yeah.
Roll
They're on
Tide.
a little of a skid, but yeah, then always wanted to give pro golf a shot, and played mini tours for a few years, which I'm so glad I did. It kind of gave me a great perspective, going out there and just driving my Volkswagen Jetta around the country and finding cheap hotels and just trying to find my game. And that was really a place. I have great memories from that, and I appreciate the PGA Tour a lot more because of that.
Yeah. Well, you hit a streak there where you went from good player, becoming a great player, and then all of a sudden you just won 3 times. You had 2 wins almost back to back, with one Sony, and then came over, and then immediately won Phoenix, and then the next year won this event. It was awesome what was going on. What was it? Was there a swing, like I'm feeling it, I'm on plane, or would you say it's more mental, or were you making more putts? What was it that gave you that little streak there?
It was a little bit of everything, but I did get a swing cue that I felt in 2010, late in the year, that just was like, hey, this feels, I was reading one of Ben Hogan's books, and he talked about a low flat spot through impact. And I've always been a little bit of a guy that kind of flips a little bit at impact. And I just like, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to give that a shot. And it just clicked for a couple years. And I really, that helped. So then hitting a little bit better shots, the putts were going in, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't just me. It was just kind of like everything was, I had 3 kids. We had 2 kids at the time, 1 on the way. And it was funny how I practiced less physically.
Yeah.
I used to be a real grinder. I used to just go out there and I feel like wear myself out. And all of a sudden it was like, Amy needed my help at home. Let's face it. It's like, well, she didn't need my help. But I felt like I should help her, right? It looked like very complicated with these kids, and I wanted to spend, and they're here too. Where are they sitting? Where are my 3 boys?
There's your kids.
Oh, right there. Yeah. And so they gave me the perspective, and they also gave me that reason to go home instead of hitting another couple of buckets of balls. And lo and behold, I just sort of trusted my own athletic ability a little bit, along with that swing thought I had, and I just went with it. I didn't fret over a bad shot or a bad day. I just said, well, today was a bad day. I'll go try again tomorrow. And I just kind of rode it for a while.
So a lot of guys and gals get caught in this thing of, we read, you got to see the shot, you got to work it, just see your shot before you hit it. But the fact of the matter is, most of us get caught up in a swing thought, and we're playing golf swing. Would you say that particular little run there, were you playing golf as opposed to, and all that other stuff was back, or was it a blend, or what?
It was probably a blend because I still had a thought, right? But at the same time, I did feel more like an athlete. I was going out and reacting to what I saw in front of me instead of overthinking, And so, think about how well you can hit the ball on the range usually, right? You don't really have a consequence out there. You hit a shot, and if you don't hit a good one, you just rake another ball and you go from there. Whereas on the golf course, sometimes you hit a bad shot and you analyze it and you go, what can I do different on the next one? Usually you kind of overcompensate, and I think I was just really just going, I was playing in the moment. I was a lot more in the present. Trey touched on it a little bit. We talk a lot about the process. You go through the process, and process of getting better, process on each shot, and part of the process is just letting that shot go once you're done with it.
Yeah. Well, it's unbelievable. Now, you're at a unique time in your career right now. You've kind of stepped away a little from the tour. You've got past champion status. Obviously, he's playing this week. But you've kind of had the possibility of maybe doing a little analyst work, and tell us a little bit about that. Are you excited about that? And then, obviously, this guy's made over $15 million on the tour. He'll float right into the Champions Tour. Are you thinking Champions Tour? And are you thinking maybe this little analyst work until then, or kind of what's going on in your head? What does the next few years look like for the Wilson family?
Yeah, Amy and I talked about it, and it's been the last 2-3 years I haven't played very well, and I feel like I've actually put more work into it, trying to find what I maybe had a few years ago. And we just kind of realized that, this game's given us a lot. What else can we do with it? And I reached out to the Golf Channel and NBC, ESPN, people like that, to see, if I could try that out. And Golf Channel brought me in for a couple of days, and I took it as a positive. They said I did a good job, but they've got everybody they need right now. And I I take that as a positive. No, here we are playing in a field of 156 players. It's hard to be on the PGA Tour, and then I look at the Golf Channel, and they've got maybe 20 working. I'm like, oh no, I'm going shrinking. But I am going to do some PGA Tour live events, which, if you don't know, it's a streaming broadcast on PGATour.com that's on about 10 or 12 hours a day during the coverage, and they follow featured groups, featured players, and featured holes, and so I'm going to do 4 events in the first 4 months of this year and kind of get my feet wet, and I'm excited about it. I'm watching Golf Central a lot more than I used to, just keeping up on what everybody's doing and keeping up with what's going on in the game. And big thing this year is the rule changes.
Yeah, big deal.
And we were kind of, I don't know, did you have anything weird happen at Sony, Trey?
Dropping it from my knee was really weird.
Yeah.
It was really, because it hit me twice. And I
But
was like,
that's
is that a penalty? And they were like, no, you're fine. I was like, how is that fine? It hit me. It was so, what's so crazy now is you could double chip one and it's fine. It's one shot.
Yeah, TC Chen would
Yeah,
have changed
TC
his whole life.
Yeah, Frank, you play with TC Chen?
Did you see the guy
just
last
as long
week?
as it has to be incidental, so you can't hit it and then try and hit it again.
Did you see the guy last week on the European Tour? The guy last week, he was behind a tree and he was dead, and he hit it and then hit it again and hit it to like a foot, made par. It was like, how's that? He hit it 5 times. How does that work? He hit it 5 times. It's a bogey.
He did that deliberately?
He did it deliberately.
Oh, I didn't think you could do it deliberately.
That was a joke.
That was a joke.
A guy did it on the European Tour,
But
though.
you can't. It has to be. It can't be.
It has to be in your.
It has to be incidental, like click, click.
Well, what if you
opposed to,
just said,
click.
"Oh, I accidentally did it"?
Hey, in this game, it's integrity.
Yeah,
There's
gentleman's
integrity.
game, but I mean, I accidentally did it. You hit it to a foot. It's like, oh yeah, it was an accident. Yeah, it's fine.
Maybe the 3 steps in between each shot was a giveaway that it wasn't.
Okay. Gotcha.
This is why there's a 24-hour
That's
TV
24-hour
station
golf
dedicated to
channel
golf.
right there, man.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
dropping it from your knee, and then it has to be in the club the radius of the club and all that. I mean, anytime I had a rule, I was like, all right, just call an official. I have no idea what's going on. Putting with the pin in was kind of cool though. Because
That's
at
faster,
home,
isn't it?
At home, with your buddies, you've got 30 feet. You don't really want to go there and hit it. You just hit it with the pin in, and it goes in, and you're like, oh, that's cool. But I never tapped one in with the pin in though. Because I was always kind of worried it'd come back out. So I was like,
Yeah, you feel pretty silly.
I was like, you can pull that thing right now, but 30 feet, leave it in there because it might be coming in hot. So it's just.
No, we were at the lunch table the other day, and there's percentages. I think it's if a putt's going 9 feet, going to go 9 feet past the hole, is an 88% better chance it's going to go in if the flag's in. And then 5 feet past the hole, it's 44%.
Percentage, it's in your
so
favor.
guys
to leave
are thinking
it in.
about this, figuring out.
It's in your favor to leave it in, actually.
But how many putts are you going to hit 9 feet past the hole?
No, I know, a 50-footer.
A
Well,
lot.
not you, Baz.
A lot. I've seen a lot. I played golf with a lot of these people.
We all
It's a
can't
lot.
be great putters, Baz. We're not all great at putting. At 80 feet, if I hit it 9 feet past, I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, that's good. Well, Amy, I got to tell you, I was thrilled. She goes, well, they didn't get enough players, and I'm going to fill in. I said, Amy, you're not the fill-in. We're building this thing around you. This is going to be a great night. Let me tell you something, a little bit about Amy. As I alluded to earlier, she was president of the PGA Tour Wives Association. So there was an inaugural event, how many years ago, with Nancy Reagan. Yeah, 30 years ago. It's unbelievable. Nancy Reagan and Barbara Nicklaus, and there was a little classic kickoff, and that's kind of what was the genesis of being a nonprofit 501c3, of which, tell us a little bit about PGA Tour Wives Association and your involvement in that, because I know it was huge in you guys' ministerial lives.
Yeah, so, it's an interesting life, just traveling on the road with your husband and the group of women that are out. I was talking to Jeff earlier about there's kind of the life cycle of life on tour, and actually Aaron's wife and I have been very fortunate to kind of evolve through all the life cycles to this point. You start out as a girlfriend. I was working full time. I worked for a large consulting firm, and I would come out on the weekends when it worked out, and then it got to a point where we were getting kind of serious, and you think, can I do this? What does that mean to be the wife of a golfer? What are the other wives like? and I quit my job and started traveling with him full time. And then you go through being the girlfriend, and then you go through being the fiance, and then the wife, and then you have kids, and what have you. So back in the beginning, you start to travel and you start to feel like, what's my identity? I'm out here, I'm the wife of a player.
Yeah.
What is my purpose? What is, you always, all of you in this audience, our whole lives, we always think, what is God's purpose for me? What am I supposed to be doing? Is this grand thing or something small? But you can see yourself getting lost. And I think all of us can relate to that in any change in your life, right? Any change in your life, you kind of get lost. And especially when you're traveling with someone who's following their dream and their passion. And I had all these skills of, for 5 years, I'd worked in a consulting firm doing really big things. And I started to meet the other women, and I started to realize these women are really fantastic. They're powerful, they're driven, they're go-getters, they're self-starters, they find their own fun.
Yeah.
And then I learned about the PGA Tour Wives Association, which women had started back in the 80s. Because we're on the road so much, we could be gone 30 weeks a year. It's hard to get involved at home and do charity and philanthropy. And whenever we go to towns, there's so much opportunity there. And then you have these title sponsors. And I always say golf fans are the most giving fans. And, you can partner with these corporations and really do something in the town and just mirror what the PGA Tour does. A lot of you have heard the statistic that the PGA Tour gives more money to charity than all other professional sports combined. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. Mark and I are not public people, we're not spotlight people, but we fully believe that God put us here because through golf we have a platform. And I think most golfers believe that. They feel that responsibility to know that they have an opportunity to give back. Yeah. And the wives feel that way too. And so it's really wonderful to be able to organize ourselves as an official 501c3. And as we go to all the towns around the country and other countries as well, to give back, whether it's to raise awareness or to raise money or to give our time to help out. And
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I know Barbara Nicklaus mentored you in some ways, not specifically related to that, but just as a mom, tell us a little bit about Barbara Nicklaus, because I know she's had a big impact on your life.
She has, as all the other, there's so many amazing women out here that have come before me, that have come after me, that have come alongside me. Barbara was one that I think I was telling you, I don't even remember the day we met. I just remember her always kind of being there.
Which speaks to her humility, really.
Yeah. If she's met you once, she remembers your name, your wife's name, your dog's name, everything.
Amazing.
And she is an incredible woman. We've had some wonderful times together. And yeah, we have gotten to know each other over the years, and she's taught me a lot. And I'm grateful, for her friendship, as well as so many other women out here. It's a traveling circus, and again, Aaron's wife and I see Jewel and Jolie are over there. Are they still there? We've raised our babies together, with all the women. You share diapers and Tylenol, and you take care of each other's kids, and we can tell you what zoos and children's museums to go to and which ones to skip all over the country, and we find our own fun. You just find your own fun. And it's an interesting stage of life now because, our kids are in school, so I'm home now. And I remember that whole generation of women above me that kind of stopped traveling, and they were home with their kids, and learning from them how you do that.
You guys tried the homeschool thing route for a little while, didn't you?
We did.
5 months.
Yeah. We did it for a year. Yeah.
I remember him being in school the first semester, and then we did the second semester, but whatever.
Yeah.
Right, Lane? Remember that?
Well, what an impact. Amy, you've got to look back over and go, I would have never seen this coming. Weren't you working for Accenture? As a consultant, and that's a little bit what happens. Maybe some of you even feel that tonight. You're like, I never saw coming here and thinking about or talking about God and golf and all that. It's just weird. But there's no way you could have seen your life unfold as it has, and yet I'm sure as you look back, it's some incredibly rewarding moments, especially given the platform you were given for those years. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And you know, when you look back, sometimes I look at the pictures or think of the memory, and I can't believe the things that we have gotten to do, the people we've gotten to meet, the experiences we've had, and just things that have been very profound in my life. And you know, even one thing that comes to mind right now as I'm talking is after Hurricane Katrina, there was a group of wives. We went, Rochelle was one of them, Angie Watson, and we went to gut a home for a woman. And I mean, that will stay with me forever, that day. And kind of just that whole experience and going through New Orleans and what we found. And it was funny, there was, I think, 8 or 9 of us that went through Catholic Charities. We partnered with them to gut a home. And we came in and they kind of looked at us like, okay, well, we're going to gut this house. You know, they gave us crowbars and we had the whole suit on with the mask and the goggles and everything. And, you know, we got in there and we gutted that house in like 3.5 hours. And they came by and they were like, we have a crew that was coming this afternoon to finish for you guys, and you're done like in record time. Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, thanks, Amy. That gives us a little bit of insight. Frank Beard, I've done a few of these with you through the years. Could you ever, now give you a little bit of perspective. So Frank's leading money winner in 1969. Leading money winner that year, $175,000, $233. $175,233. That's how much you make today if you make and 68 cents, he said. That's how much you make today if you miss a few putts coming in and you're no, seriously, Frank, seriously, could you ever have imagined the tour as it has evolved?
Well, no, except I was on the good side of it. Palmer had won 2 Masters and television was looking at him, and we jumped up pretty quick. And the purses were 20,000 when we started purses. We got to 40 and 50 pretty quick, thanks to Arnold and television, and then it kind of went on up from there. So
it's just Frank, it's unbelievable.
But, you know, we were happy. We were all playing the game. You know, I was listening. I watched the guys today. I don't know. I just hope they have as much fun today as we did. We just played.
Yeah.
Just played golf.
Now, did you guys travel together? I mean, back in the day? Let's talk about that a little bit.
That's the first thing you had to figure out is that 5 guys in a room all week long wasn't going to work very well. We tried that some. But the wives, we traveled in a caravan. I wasn't on an airplane for a year and a half. We traveled everywhere. I put 41,000 miles on the station wagon the first year. And we had our wives and kids, and the wives would call ahead and get at their models of the Holiday Inns where they had the kitchenettes. And we did the same thing, the exact same thing.
Amy Palmer Saunders talks about waiting in the car for her dad. She just, because they weren't allowed to go in the clubhouses back then. So she would just wait in the car, and then the second he got in, they'd take off for the next tournament.
Well, I don't know about the clubhouse thing, but...
well, in terms of the kids and family and all that. Now they've got family rooms, and there's a spread, and your whole family goes in there and eats, and it's kind of like a buffet the whole week. And but Frank, that's unbelievable. I remember we did a thing a number of years back, and we kind of did a juxtaposition between... so today guys have their nutritionist, they've got their swing coach, they've got their sports psych, they've got their their trainer, they've got all these guys, and they may have an entourage sometimes of 8, 9 people, depending, or their team. A lot of times you'll see guys finish and say, I want to give thanks. It's not just me, it's my whole team. You know, Jordan Spieth was famous for talking about his team, never talking about himself. And then I asked you, and you said, well, sometimes our shaft, we didn't know how much our clubs weighed. We didn't have a club guy. And sometimes they'd pour sand down the shafts to get our clubs to all weigh the same. I mean, that's a huge difference. I mean, could you have even thought about a team back in the day?
He's thinking
I had
about
a
it.
caddy that had one shoe. It was nothing like it is today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was thinking, we were talking about Mark with the anonymity thing. I said, I thought he ought to try anonymity. He ought to play around the golf with Palmer and Nicklaus.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't even know who you are. They're not trying to get you off in behind the ropes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm supposed to be playing here,
Well, speaking of that, we got a guy that works for Lynx. One of our played the tour back in the day, Randy Wolf, which you'll remember Randy. And Randy was kind of in the lead one time, but unfortunately Palmer and Nicklaus were in front of him. So he's like, there's Palmer's crew. Anybody remember what they called Arnie's Army, right? And Jack's pack and all this. And he said then there were a few people, and he said, and then there were Randy's relatives following me. So. But yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's really not. It's so much. It is a star-driven tour, Frank, and it always has been, probably always will be.
It always has the star, but you got to remember, the year I was leading money winner, I was looking for the cops. I was looking for the police. I thought I'd robbed a bank. I'd never seen that kind of money.
Yeah.
It was. I really didn't. I had no concept of that kind of money.
Right.
And this was 1969, and. It was great. It was a whole bunch. I had a house and the cars, and I had everything but the plane.
Yeah. But Arnie did. He really turned. We are all. Even residually, but all these guys are so indebted, really, to Arnie, wouldn't you say?
Everybody sitting on this stage, Arnie made them 75 cents out of every dollar they'll make. I'll promise you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Guarantee you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Guarantee. And if he and Nicklaus had come in just reverse order, we wouldn't have made it, because Jack couldn't do that. He couldn't draw the people. He drew the good golf fans, but he couldn't draw the fans that Arnie did, the lovers that Arnie did. The people that liked him, they didn't know anything about golf. They liked Arnie.
Yeah.
And so the order they came was critical.
Yeah. You got, obviously won 11 times, never won a major, but came close a few times. Talk about what you felt, what was your best opportunity to win a major? What year was it? What event was it?
Well, I call it, I like to say second. I finished second twice, except there were two guys in a playoff in front of me. So
Gotcha. Hey, I'll go with that.
But I had second score,
Yeah,
so
sure.
and nobody ever questions it. But I know I've lose a lot of respect from the guys I play golf with at the Palms, because I never won a major. They kill me. They're out there. A couple of them are out there.
A few of them
now.
we saw, yeah.
But, you had to be, there were just classes of players. I was a good player. I was a journeyman pro. If you were a baseball player, I was about a lifetime 280 hitter, and et cetera, et cetera. But I was real proud of what I was able to do. And, but there was a level that just played better. I didn't have the game. Mine was very simple. I hit a ball that came in right to left. We were just talking about that. And on the major greens, that doesn't work. Yeah. So you spend 4 days in that fringe rough, and that doesn't work too good.
Doesn't work either, yeah.
Because the balls aren't staying on the greens, and it was easy to break it down. But it was just a blast. We were laughing about being golfers, and Mark said about a story. I said, I'll do it again tonight. Somebody will say, he was. Mr. Trey was talking about a shot he saw Tiger hit, and I'll be thinking about it tonight when I go to sleep. And I'll go out tomorrow at 80 years old, and I'll try that, thinking that's going to help my golf game.
I'll be right there with you.
I was a golfer first, and then God blessed me with about a 10-year pro career, and now I'm a golfer again, which means I'm looking for my game the same as I was before I went on tour.
Yeah. Now, Frank, before we press on to Aaron here, I know how special your son, and you got to be really proud to see him coaching at Pepperdine, and just a great player in and of himself, Michael Beard, and your family and your grandkids and all that. But Michael had a profound impact on your life. Can you maybe just speak to that a little bit?
Well, he was he had gone to Well, I'll start with the family. It was second marriage for both my wife and I, and we had fallen away from the church, and I had just kind of cleaned up my alcoholic life, and we had the 2 kids, and so I don't know. We didn't talk about God much. We weren't again. It just wasn't a subject we talked much about. I don't know. Just we weren't in a very good spot. We were personally. She was on the track and was dragging me along, and I was going. And so Michael winds up at Pepperdine, and he comes back talking about God and Christ, and I'm listening to him, and I'm thinking, maybe he's got something here. And I don't know why it was like that, but it worked that way. And he today is still my spiritual mentor.
Wow.
When I have a problem, I call him.
Yeah.
And my daughter went through Pepperdine, had pretty much the same experience, and we were just God just blessed the family. It came from the kids. It says you got to come back as a little kid, and that's where mine came from.
That's so powerful. That's the beauty of it, folks. I mean, it's the whole every message Michael and I know Michael well. It's like, Dad, you don't earn it. It's not because you're good. It's because we're bad. That's the whole reason. That's Jesus. That's the deal, I remember interviewing Tom Lehman one time. He goes, no, I'm not a Christian. It's not that I'm not a hypocrite. I'm a Christian because I find myself being a hypocrite. I find myself not living like I want to. I have aspirations, but I find myself not being able to. And then there's this whole message of grace, I accept you as you are, come to me. And I think that's what Michael communicated to you, and I know you've been on a journey. We've had a lot of conversations. I've lost a lot of money to you on the golf course, and that's grace, it's just grace. It's just grace. And so thanks, Frank. We love you being here, buddy. You're special to me. Seriously, brother, you can't give me more than 5 minutes advance. No, trust me. I'm thrilled you're here, buddy. We've done a lot of these. Bads, give us a story. For those of you who don't know, Aaron grew up in Australia because I always get mate in a text, so I always have mate in a text. And tell us a little bit. I mean, we've talked a little bit about this, but I've got to say, going head-to-head with Greg Norman as a teenager and some of that, and then coming over here. Tell us a little bit about your journey, man.
Yeah, so I was actually born over here. I was born in America. I was born in Lebanon, New Hampshire, so there's a little fact that some people don't know. That's where the accent comes from, it's that New England accent. And then my parents are over here working. I moved back to Australia when I was about 3 and grew up there till I was almost 19, then moved back over here for golf. And before I moved back over, as Jeff said, I went head-to-head with the Shark, winning this. I won the Australian Open when I was 18 as an amateur. Greg finished second with Nick O'Hearn, and that earned me some sponsor invites to come over here to play. Played the Masters, played the US Open, and other US tour events. And so for me, that was like a dream. That was what my goal was. I wanted to be over here, and that was going to be the best year of my life. And so I came over here in March 2000. By October, I'll call it end of September. End of September that same year, I wanted to quit the game. I'm not kidding. Life didn't go as planned. Missed a bunch of cuts. Played with Tiger Woods the first 2 days at the US Open. This is 2000, so he was about to go on his rampage. And then at the US Open, I played with Nick Price. Nick Price and Greg Norman were the 2 guys that I looked up to when I was growing up and watching and just watching the US Tour. So I got to play with 2 of my favorite golfers in these tournaments. It was supposed to be unbelievable, and then I wanted to quit the game. At that point, I would have called myself a Christian, but I wouldn't say that I was really walking with the Lord. I'd say the only difference between me and my friends who weren't Christians was that I was saving myself for marriage and I didn't swear. Besides that, it was about the same life. So I got back to, my coach said, look, hey, let's focus on what you want to achieve, what are your goals. So I wrote down some goals for golf, wanted to win this, win that, et cetera, and then I wrote some life goals, like things to do with my workouts, things to do with my life, and in really small writing that no one could read unless I showed you that it was there. I wrote down that I wanted to have a strong relationship with the Lord. But I wrote it really small because I really didn't want anyone to know that at that time. And 2 months later, I win the Australian Open again, back to back, and then win again in Australia and win the Australian money list. Then come back over here, thinking this is going to be great, you know. So everything's better. I'm going to play a lot better. My game's better. Same thing happens. Missed a bunch of cuts, but didn't want to quit the game at that point. My walk with the Lord had sort of grown a little bit. And the massive thing that happened during that in 2001 was my pastor from Australia came over, which I had no idea about. And I was playing at Whisper Rock, middle of summer. So we're in Scottsdale. It's 115 out. No one's on the golf course. And I mean, often those days, it was just literally two guys, me and one other guy, Woody. And I hit in the trees on the 8th hole, walk over to find my ball, and I see 2 feet right in front of me. I look up, and it's my pastor from Australia. And he's like, "Hey, g'day, mate." I'm like, "What are you doing here?" So we sort of, from that point there, really, he was like, "Man, there's something more to life. I mean, something more to this than just an accidental meeting." Mm-hmm. And he's like, so he really took me under his wing and mentored me and answered all those questions that you think are silly questions, but there's really no silly questions. Like, why do I have to pray if God already knows what I'm going to say? Why do I have to pray? From those questions, or any sort of question that you could think of, he was there. He came alongside, taught me how to like study scripture, taught me how to write a sermon, just walked with me, and that was a massive turning point in my walk with the Lord.
Yeah, and then you got to realize Aaron's won 4 times on the tour, won over $20 million. So if you need a loan, see Aaron after the deal. We'll set up a little deal.
I got 5 kids.
Okay, so he's got $500,000 left. And, but we've had this conversation. I mean, as Amy was alluding to, I mean, there is, and it's hard for Trey to see probably at this point. Certainly easy for Frank to see. There's a life cycle. Nobody ever knows how long they're going to play. I mean, it's unbelievable how challenging. I mean, thousands and thousands of guys, knuckleheads like me, used to trying to get on the tour, and it's the select few, 1% of 1% of 1% that actually get their card. So you're starting to, you're seeing, I mean, not a decline. I mean, you're still playing great golf, and I mean, you won a few years ago again, which was, I jumped up out of my chair and started crying, and when I watched you win, but. I mean, you realize there's a lot of life left to live, and I know, why are you even here? Why do you make such efforts to get here? I mean, I know you even talked about maybe even wanting to be a pastor one day, right? So if you're writing sermons back then, you've got a few saved up. So. Yeah,
no, I mean, honestly, this is what I live for. I mean, knowing Jesus and walking with Him. In life, there is nothing better. I mean, because life's not easy at times. Things are difficult, and I mean, winning on the PGA Tour was great. And when I won my first tour event, it was at Hilton Head. It was 2006. It was the day after Rochelle's and my first wedding anniversary. It was Easter Sunday. I spoke on the 18th green that morning, won there about 10 hours later, and we were sitting at dinner afterwards, both of us, and we looked at each other and we're like, is this it? I can honestly tell you that the best bit about winning at Hilton Head was Monday morning when I spent quiet time with the Lord, just thanking Him and spending time with Him, that it was His plan that would happen. I can honestly say that was the best bit about winning, because there's nothing like walking with Him in life. The joy and the peace that comes from knowing Him and walking with Him, like the Bible says, that it surpasses understanding, surpasses knowledge. You can't comprehend it, and that's exactly what it is. I've seen it in my life, and that scripture, what it talks about, it's completely true. And life with Him doesn't compare to life without Him. Like, I honestly don't understand how people could live life without him, because he is the best, the most gracious, most loving, personable, intimate person you'll ever meet. And to get up and spend time with him each morning is an absolute privilege, to open up his word and see what he wants to say to you, to feel his presence. There's zero that compares to it. Winning on the tour is great, but it doesn't compare to getting up in the morning and spending time with him. That doesn't compare.
Well, you know, I know, Aaron, what's so hard for people to sense is that it doesn't even sound like you're talking about religion. I mean, it just doesn't sound like it.
It's not. It's a relationship, because he is so loving. Like, there's a song right now that says, talks about the name of the song is Known, and he talks about being completely, fully known. Like, all the secrets that you have that no one knows about except for you, to be completely and fully known. Yet he just loves you. He accepts you exactly as you are, and just absolutely adores you. And for him to say that, and then to feel his love and feel his presence, and to know that he has completely accepted you, there is nothing better.
Yeah,
It's
incredible.
crazy.
Aaron, thank you, buddy. That is so, it's so right on. I mean, it is the message. It's the narrative of Scripture. Mark, can you speak to that? I mean, 5 times. I mean, are you finding that? Did you find that to be true in your own experience?
I think what he's given me is taught me about contentment. You know, just being content. And if I truly believe that Jesus was the man he said he was, and that he died for me and rose again, I'm going to live a life of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
And so then I look around, I look at the world differently, I look at my day differently, things that happen to me. It's just a better perspective, a better mindset that gets you through the day, because life is hard, and it kind of takes the tops off the peaks, and it takes the bottoms off the valleys. It just kind of gives you a little bit more like this. There's a joy. That's the thing, versus a happiness that is determined by the circumstances going in your life. Yeah. Jesus gives us joy that we can go through everything. And I think of like one little thing that I've learned recently is to just, every bird chirping makes me think of him. Like he created that. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing if you actually are intentional about little things in creation, how much you see them or hear them. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I try to do. And I fail a lot every day, and I try to put my own interests first. But the thing is, he's always there with open arms, ready to spend time with me. Yeah. And we're at a house with Bads last summer, and it's your inspiration to me, looking at his Bible and how worn it is, and there's notes on every single page. Yeah. And you're an inspiration, Aaron. I appreciate it, and I love walking with him. And that's the cool thing, is that we can all have an individual relationship with Christ. And if we truly believe that God created us, then we're going to want to live for him. Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to jump in is, some of you may or may not know, but on tour, we have a tour study. And whether some years it's Tuesday nights, some years it's Wednesday nights, and we have wives, girlfriends, players, caddies, TV, rules officials, and we gather and spend time in the Word and fellowship. We also have the wives have a girls' gathering that we have usually on Wednesdays when we're not doing a PGA Tour Wives charity event. We'll have our girls' gathering, and that group of women that I spent 15 years with on tour, in the Word, doing Bible studies, praying for each other, and it's so beautiful now being able to text each other and having prayers, lifting each other up, or I thought about you today, what's going on, and staying connected that way. It's very powerful, because when you're on the road, you don't have that at home. And so we do it on the road. We're a traveling family on the road together, and we're that community. And it's very powerful. When Mark and I got married, I said, I don't want to live a life like this. I mean, I want to live like this. And having this network out here helps to keep you focused on why you're here and what you're doing and what it's for and what it means, and that you don't live in the highs and the lows, and you live your purpose, and you live it with with others.
Trey, have you been able to internalize some of this stuff? Give us your take on this.
Speaking of kind of rooming with Aaron, me and Aaron and Ben Crane roomed with each other at John Deere last year, and I remember calling my wife. I think it was Wednesday night, and we had some really good conversations on Monday and Tuesday, and Ben and Aaron have been role models, and so is Mark in our lives, and growing up and watching them play, and to see the movement God has had in their lives as a guy who grew up in a Christian home and kind of knew God but didn't have that relationship, and then through college and through Stephen Bunn, who is a college golf fellowship. He was our college pastor, now is our tour chaplain. Kind of my walk got stronger and stronger, and ever since I've gotten on tour and surrounded myself with Aaron and Mark and Ben Crane and all these guys out here that we have our Bible study with on Tuesdays, it gives you that comfort to know that you're not alone, because some weeks are very hard. It's like you said, your ups and downs. And when I first got out here and I had Stephen Bunn and all that, my ups and downs didn't seem that bad as it did for some other guys, because I had a group of guys that I could surround myself with that were my family. That I could call Aaron if I was struggling with something. I could call Aaron, or I could call Stephen Bunn or Ben Crane, and and they can see it on your face week to week. I had multiple guys, like if you're not playing, goes like, hey man, let's go to dinner and talk. Stuff like that just helps younger guys like me. And so I thank y'all for everything that you've done to help guys like myself and the younger generation come up and not feel like you have to be something you're not.
Yeah.
And that you can live for Christ and you can talk about him, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because in the world now, if you do that, sometimes they try to tell you not to do that, and now it's like we have that freedom to do that, and to be able to have our study on Tuesdays and all that's just been super helpful for me. And I'm in a new spot in my life. We just had our first child.
Hey, congrats, man! Come on.
We just had our first little girl, and so dealing with that process. I've already talked to some guys, and I'm going to talk to more. Hey, and I was going to talk to her and say, hey, I need to write some notes down. I need to figure some of this stuff out. But having her, it gives me that. I want to be that man in her life and know that, hey, I want her to know that I'm your father, but I'm not your heavenly father. I want her to know who that is. And
that's good, Trey.
Be an inspiration to her. But having these guys out here, it's just been unbelievable to see the walk that they have and how long they've been able to do this, and the faith that you keep having, because it's so easy to be out here and when you get in a slump, be like, wow, well, what are you trying to tell me, God? I stink? What are you trying to tell me here? Like I need to quit? But no, it's, just keep at it. And that's why I try to really work hard, because he gave me a gift that I don't want to tarnish.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome,
I want to
buddy.
praise him and giving me that gift. So.
That's so good. That is so good, Trey. So before we wind down here, I have this idea. So I'll start with Bads. Bads, talk to your 26-year-old self over here. What would you want to tell your 26-year-old self? If you knew then what you know now, what would you tell your 26-year-old self?
I think Trey touched on it, just what he was talking about there. Like, man, I have people to go to. Like, you feel like, and I'm sure you'd probably feel the same, that in parts in your life, like there's cliques. You think, oh, those people they got their friends there, and they got their friends over there. And the first year, Rochelle was pregnant with Jewel. She was on bed rest for like 20 weeks. So it was the first time I'd traveled by myself for like 5 years. And I sort of had that feeling like, oh, those guys got their friends there. Those guys got those friends there. And it was amazing. That year, I would put myself out there and say, hey, do you want to go get dinner? And no one said no. It was like, because you think, oh, they got stuff going on. No one had anything going on. Everyone was going back to the hotel room by himself and trying to find what to do for dinner. And that really stood out to me. It was like, man, all I got to do is just got to be a little bit bold and say, hey, you want to go get some dinner? And so they built those friendships. And as Trey said, like, you got these guys who you can now do life with out there, because there's times where, as Amy said, like life transitions where the family's not traveling as much. Like my kids and the Wilsons' kids, they're not traveling as much anymore. So you're out there by yourself more often. And to be able to room with these guys like I did last year was just incredible. Just to have that friendship and that time together, the conversations that you have, it's so enriching. So I'd say, for me, it's saying, like, hey, keep doing that. You know, like even for me now at my age, I want to keep doing that because I text Ben like late last year. I was like, hey, you probably got somewhere to stay, but you got a house? Or do you want to share a house? He's like, yeah, come on, I got a room. So just putting yourself out there and do that yourself. Like, be like, hey man, do you want to go get lunch? You know?
Yeah.
So
it's as simple as that. It is so true. It is so true.
And then after that, I would say it would be having that consistent daily quiet time, whether you feel like it or not. Because you could even, I don't feel like reading my Bible today, you know, or there's times where you don't feel like doing whatever. It's like, no, like it's not religion and it's not legalism. It's like, no, I'm waking up and I'm spending the first part of my day with the Lord, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It's like you just spend like, hey, Lord, you're my priority, and I'm spending time in your word and spending time with you no matter what. And that's what you do. And that's something that was taught to me a long time ago, and that's something that I've implemented in my life and seen. It's just been amazing how the Lord just totally uses your commitment to him and how your love and your heart just changes. It's incredible.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Thanks, buddy. So Frank, now you're seeing a life cycle with Mark and Amy that it's kind of shifting a little bit. What would you look back and tell your 40-something-year-old self if you were to look back?
Oh, yeah.
Testing. Okay, all right, we're good.
Well, I would tell him, I would tell Trey, I would tell anybody that would listen that the only real happiness is going to be a relationship with God and his son Jesus, and that will last. Everything else I chased. And you can be happy with your golf. You can be happy with your spouse or your children. But they will fail you at some point in time because it's not their job to make you happy. They can't help it. They should be trying to make themselves happy, and they can be happy with you. But the only real lasting happiness is going to be a relationship with God and his son Jesus. And I wish that I had known that way early.
Do you wonder sometimes what your career might have looked like if you had the kind of life that Michael demonstrated early in his? Have you ever thought really through that?
No, because then that would be going back to looking for happiness in the career, in the tour.
That's good, Frank.
I'm looking. See, I listen, and everybody seems. This all seems so beautiful and everything, and damn, I get up every day and struggle.
Yeah.
I struggle every single day looking for this relationship with God and his son Jesus. I've got it. He's right here. He ain't going anywhere. He's right here. But I don't have the radical dependence that I need. I'll get up and I'll say, well, we got 10 things to do today. I'll give you 5 and I'll take 5. And which 5 do you think get done? You know?
Well, I can tell you right now, if as a pastor now, and not just a golf pro anymore, as a pastor, I can say, if I see that in anybody that I'm with, I'm saying that person, Jesus would have said it. Forget what I say, it doesn't matter. Jesus would have said, you know, that's very near, that's right, you're right on, just keep pursuing, keep knocking, keep knocking. And I love you, Frank Beard. I think the world of you. I think the world of you. As we wind this down, Amy, have you got anything you want to throw into the realm here? I know you've seen this tour life. You've seen the hoopla that goes on. I mean, Phoenix in a couple of weeks. I mean, it's insane. I mean, you got 30,000 people on one par 3 that's a pitching wedge to the green. It's crazy. And Trey, you walked in that for the last few years, but you're going to continue to walk in that. As you look back, what do you say? I mean, there's a lot of excitement, thrills, but as you look back over these last years, just any kind of parting thoughts for us?
Can I borrow your notebook so I can write these down?
You know, I think it's true with any of us. No one ever knows what your life is going to be, right? You just don't know what it's going to entail. You just don't know. It's an adventure the whole way. And, you know, I think that, you know, Mark and I have just been on an incredible adventure. It's been fast and furious. And, you know, I would constantly tell him, we need to live in the moment. We need to live in the moment. And like you said, no matter how hard I try to do that, we're planners. We're very type A. We're always, what's next? Let's plan this, plan. And I feel like I did, but I wish I had even done a better job of living in the moment. And, but at the same time, you know, again, golf has been so good. My parents are here tonight, and they taught me to play golf as a child. And I thought I knew all about golf. And then I met Mark, and I realized I didn't know anything about golf. And I still learn about it. And I love the game. I now get to play again. I started playing again myself. And I love playing and I love the game, but I love walking. I love watching. I love watching my husband play, but I love watching anybody play. And I love what it's given to us. I love what the game, and not just to professional golfers, but to anybody. I mean, we're all here because we all love golf. It's a beautiful sport that brings people together. Yeah. And you can play it your whole life on every level. Yeah. It really is a beautiful game, and the history of it. It is a gentleman's sport, and so I forgot where I was going with it, but I know
I love every bit of it.
that
you had
Mark
me at
and I
hello,
are
I'm telling you.
I still feel like we're still on the journey with golf, and I don't know what God has planned for us next, but so far He's done a really good job. We've had a beautiful story. We've had a great run, and I know He's got just amazing things. I still feel like we're just getting going, and I don't know what's next, but it's been good so far.
I think you're saying enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Right, I think when as kids, we sit there and I think it's cool to dream about making that putt to win the Masters, and we do that because that's important. But then when you actually, well, I haven't won the Masters, but when you win a tournament.
Although real quick, he was on track to win the par 3, and there was a big storm came in and they shut it down. But right before they did that, I was in the woods with Cole. And everyone just erupts, and they're freaking out, and everyone's yelling. I come running. I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, this guy just got a hole-in-one. I'm like, which guy? They're like, Wilson. I'm like, what? I missed it. I was in the woods. And then a storm came in, and they shut it down, and there you have it.
Yeah, Lane was caddying. My cousin David and Lane were caddying for me. But no, just
he's talking about the par 3, you know, at the Masters. Yeah.
Yeah, but I always thought it was about hoisting the trophies and that. But it really is the memories you have coming down the stretch and what you could do, and then the relationships that you've gained through this game with the kids. I mean, some of my best friends are the ones I played golf with when I was a little kid. They're still my best friends today. So, I guess to answer your question earlier, too, what I tell my 26-year-old self.
Give it. Trey, come on, take some notes, buddy.
I think Amy and I think about when we were just married and we were traveling, and it was a Sunday, and we were in the airport, and we didn't have kids yet, and we'd see another family with a 1-year-old chasing around the airport. We're like, could you believe that? Could you believe that? Could you do that right now? And we're like, not a chance. I'm exhausted. Then we lived that for like 8 years. So as busy as you think you are now, which you know,
you're making it sound great. Thanks.
No.
Can't wait.
Woo! You're only going to get busier. But embrace the busyness.
Embrace the busyness.
And just to celebrate the successes. I feel like you touched on it earlier about how you're always looking, we tend to look forward like, ooh, I won a tournament. Now I should play good in a major. I should make the Ryder Cup team. I feel like I didn't celebrate enough while I was having the successes. I think we did an okay job. But at the same time, it was always like, what's next? What's next? And so that would be a couple little things I'd share with you.
I'm all in. That's awesome.
Trey, you got all this, buddy?
I think so. I'm probably going to have to go back home and write a little bit more of it down and just kind of call Aaron and Mark and be like, okay, you said this and then this, but I think I got the gist.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, I mean, here, I think you see the passion of everybody up here. What you see, our culture celebrates this. I mean, especially in this demographic, in this place, in Palm Springs, 130 golf courses. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, I was in Israel with two of my friends about a month ago. There's one golf course in all of Israel. Now there's a par 3. Maybe there's 130 golf courses right here in the Coachella Valley. So we know the passion, and we look, and some of you, you know, have aspired or think, you know, I'd just love to get down to single digit, or I'd love to break 90 for the first time. And you look at these guys, and I think it's true across all sports. You look, or it's true in business. You know, you rise up, you pass the $100 million mark, or you go public with your company, or, I mean, there's always these milestones, and I've heard it. I have spent thousands of hours with executive level guys over the last 2 decades of doing ministry, and they all say the same thing. It's not unique to the golf. It's not, you know, it's kind of like, is this all there is? It's like after Aaron won. Ben Crane said the same thing after he won the Buick over at Torrey Pines. He walks out, you know, he gets the big check, you know, the Happy Gilmore check, and they walk out, and his caddy, and they're walking up to the car, and he put the key in the car, and it's like all of a sudden he goes, is this all there is? I mean, I've worked my whole life that in some way I could meet this place, meet this purpose, find this fulfillment, and then I would have arrived. And we all find, I don't care what you accomplish, you're going to go to that next place, and you go, okay, what's next? And the one thing about Jesus is there's never a cycle that ends. You know, one of the things that I think you hear running through a lot of these stories is this is a cycle we know is never going to end. These aren't relationships that are going to end. These aren't quid pro quo stuff. This is something that will go on for all of eternity. It is an insane thought, and I know many of you say, I can't buy it. I don't know this God that they're talking about. Maybe you don't even believe in God. I'm just encouraging you. These men and women would encourage you. Take a next step. I don't care what cycle it is in your life. Take a next step, whatever it is. Maybe just, you know, if somebody brought you and you're from the garden, go with them. Just go. Listen to Jason. Do something. Or Cornerstone. Just take a next step to at least inquire. Don't shut it off. Don't shut it off at this point in your life. I mean, that's the encouragement I think that you're going to get from these folks. You know, we're going to close this. Jason, if you'd come back up, buddy. Frank, if you don't mind, we'll just stay here. Jason, just anything you want to say, buddy? I know this is, you know, this guy can play. He can roll his rock. He can play, but somehow, some way, you came along and you just said, you know, this is not all there is to it, and there is something beyond. So would you close us out and then close us in prayer for my friend?
Yeah, just to take 2 minutes.
You take
First of all, let's just thank these guys and gals for being here this day. And you know, I feel like in some way I represent a lot of you that are here in this sense. You know, because I've loved golf since I was a little kid. I mean, I love sports, but I feel an affinity for Mark already because my parents looked at me and said, you are not going to play football or basketball. Let's teach you how to play golf. So I love sports, but I learned to play golf, and the highest level of golf is the PGA Tour, and just I sit in this room and I feel so blessed to be with you guys and to get to say hi. And you know, Jeremy Camp and I went to Bible college together, so I had him texting you, and I'm like, I want to meet. It was just all personal and selfish for me. I'm like, I want to meet Aaron. Get him here, Jeremy, because again, we've never met, but I just look up to this guy, and I look up to all of these are on stage. So I'm saying that to tell you this, is I feel like I represent you. My golf career ended with scholarship offers. That's as far as I got. And yet I look at them and I think, man, this is amazing. But what Jeff was saying just a second ago is so true. You don't have to be a successful PGA Tour professional to know what they've been saying is true. Because every experience that we have in life has with it an ounce of unfulfillment, doesn't it? Remember back when you were a little kid and you thought, man, when I get on my own, when I am away from my parents and I'm finally paying my own bills, life will be fulfilling. And then you got there, right? And you thought, it costs money for water to come out of my sink. This is terrible. And you thought it would fulfill you being an adult, but it didn't. And then you were a single guy, some of you guys here. And you thought, I know what will fulfill me if I get a woman. That'll do it. If I can have a relationship, all my problems will go away. Hey, listen. I'm married to the greatest gal on the planet, but that's not true. And then you sit there and you're at this stage and you think, man, marriage wasn't it, but if we could just have kids, all my problems would go away if I just had kids. My son's here tonight and I love him to death, but that isn't it either. And we think about whether it's your business. And I know for me growing up, man, if I could just win a high school golf tournament, so I did. If I could just win a state tournament, I did. If I could just have colleges want me to come play for them, and I did. And I look at these guys and think, well, it must be different if you went on the PGA Tour. But I remember I sat in the first church I ever pastored, and the guy that I played junior golf with, and he played for Long Beach State and went on and played a little bit on the tour, and he called me up and he said, what's it like to be a pastor? I thought, who wants to know my story? What's it like to be you? You're living my dream. And he said, do you really want to know? He said, I'll be honest. And he wasn't very successful. And he said, I make enough money to support my beer habit. He was not a Christian. He said, I go from relationship to relationship because I never know if a woman's interested in me because she thinks I'm going to be successful someday or whether she really likes me. And honestly, Jason, it was fun when we got up after school and played golf. But I have to get up at 8 o'clock now and hit wedge shots. And he says, I hate it. I don't like golf that much. And then he said to me, because he thought I was crazy when I decided to leave golf and just pursue what I felt God was calling me in my life. He said, are you still doing that religious thing? And you understand, as a youth pastor, I used to go around and tell people, you know, I would do Jeff's story. I was ranked number 2 to Tiger Woods. I wouldn't tell him it was for 8 weeks when we were like 11. But, you know, because that is not as cool. But I would tell them, hey, I maybe could have done this. All I gave up for the Lord. And I sat there that day on the phone. And I realized I have a wife that loves me with all of her heart. I get up every day and do what I want to do. And I get to see lives change through the power of Jesus Christ. And I realized that for me, I gave up nothing and I gained absolutely everything. And I want to tell you something. Like Pastor Jeff said a second ago, whether it is in business, whether it's in professional golf, whether it is in being a real estate agent, you think the next thing is going to fulfill you in your life, but every single thing we have comes with it as an ounce of unfulfillment because you have been created for a relationship with Jesus. And you know, and that's why these guys are so busy and they gave their time to be here tonight. That's why some of your friends invited you tonight. Because here's what we found. Some people in this room have made millions of dollars. Some people in this room have been the top of their field. I met the guy today who invented cookies and cream ice cream. Can you believe that? He walked in my office. I said, what you should do? He goes, I created flavors for Dreyer's ice cream. And I said, what flavor did you create? And he said, cookies and cream. I'm like, you're my hero. So anyways, it's amazing people that have done things. And he told me the same story you've heard here tonight. I thought being a successful ice cream maker would fulfill me. You have been created with a God-shaped hole in your heart. And God wants to wrap his arms around you. And whether tonight you just say, Lord, I'm tired of running from you. I want you to be my Savior. I want you to be my Lord. Or as Pastor Jeff said, you just want to say, hey, I was invited from that friend from the Red Door. I was invited a friend from Southwest or Cornerstone or the Garden. And I just want to come check it out. Whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, Jesus Christ is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I know everybody up here would say the same thing. And we do this because we want you to know the Lord that we love so much. Good. So can I just pray?
Yeah, pray, okay? Brother. Right. Come on.
Let me pray for you, and we'll end this evening. Father, thank you for this wonderful time. Thank you for these men and women, and just the joy it's been for us who are golf fans to be able to see their faces and hear their stories. And Lord, I pray each of them that are playing this week, you just give them great success and their careers still in front of them, and the things that they're doing in their life. But Lord, I want to pray for everybody sitting out here tonight. Lord, I know some of them, they know you and love you, but I know there's some here tonight that maybe they're still trying to fill that hole in their heart with business success and relationship success. And I pray, Lord, they would hear the message that's been repeated 100 times tonight, that you have created them with a hole in their heart that only you can fill. And I pray they would stop running from you. I pray they would stop trying to fill fulfillment and other things. But maybe even tonight they would say, Lord, I want to surrender my heart to you. I want to follow you with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. And I pray tonight would be the start of something beautiful in each of their lives. That they would find friends to go to church with. There are so many, as many golf courses. There are even more churches here in this valley that can be awesome and beneficial. But Lord, I pray that you'd help them to plug in somewhere where they can grow and know you and love you more. Bless these men and women for their time here tonight and reveal yourself to each of them in a greater way. Jesus, for those of us that know you, we thank you for being you in all of our lives. And we pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thanks, Jason. So one more time, round of applause for everybody that came, gave their time. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Trey, Mark, Amy, Frank. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bads, love you, buddy. So hang around. We got you out of here. Can you believe it? Right on the dot, man. 7 to 8:30. Hang around. We love you. We hope to see you. Hey, this could be the first. If it is, we'll grow this group next year. Have a great evening.